Episode 299 of the TV Dudes, recorded September 9th, 2020. Boys will be boys. You know, sometimes boys will be boys. Sometimes it's the boys coming together in soccer, like in Ted Lasso on Apple Plus. Sometimes it's the karate confrontations of Cobra Kai on Netflix. Sometimes a little darker, like the actions of the boys on Lovecraft Country this week on HBO. And sometimes it's literally The Boys, which dropped season 2 on Amazon Prime. But before we get to all that, I'm Randy.
I'm Kyle.
I'm Les.
And we're the TV Dudes. Y'all,
yes, we are.
It's kind of funny to be talking. I think this was a good week for TV. Like, there was a lot of good stuff.
Yeah.
And despite all that, we also made time to keep checking on a show that I think we've all fallen a little bit deeper in love with that we're going to revisit in Old Business this week. But at the same time, today, a show dropped that we're super excited to talk about that Les and I have watched an episode or two of, and Kyle's not had a chance to watch yet, but that is Hulu's Woke, which, because next week is our 300th episode, we're going to have kind of a special deal. We're going to have Grant on. We're going to be doing like a top 3 kind of thing. And so Woke will take an extra time. But if you want to do your TV homework ahead of time, fans at home, definitely watch Woke on Hulu, because I think Les and I are both really, really digging it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, trailer looks awesome. I'm excited to get into it.
It's super good. All right, but this week is all about the Cobra Kai coming to Netflix, and of course more about Lovecraft Country. But before we get to all our shows, it's time for the Power Ranking.
Power Rankings.
Hi, yeah. Yeah, we are chopping the keyboard this week, guys. Going through the internet, picking fights with websites like IMDb, Metacritic, and Rotten Tomato, because we want to know how many boards they can stack up and chop through when compared to all the shows we've watched this year. Guys, we're up to over 120 shows for the year that we've thrown into the algorithm and created the definitive
That's a lot of shows.
Rankings. That's a lot of shows. But we got 2 from last week that we're going to look at. The first one from our evil episode is in 61 place is Lucifer Season 5 over on Netflix with a 301.
Looks like Metacritic people not a fan of Lucifer.
Oh, yeah, no. And there's not a lot of action on that show over there. The fans are definitely not.
It is difficult to watch Lucifer and keep your monocle in while holding your brandy.
That's
at
true.
the same time, and twirl your mustache. It's a lot.
Actually,
it's a lot.
I think Metacritic is where a lot of video games get ranked. Like, there seems like there's a lot of video game stuff on there, not as much TV.
Okay, yeah. Yeah.
But we could still get a little. And for
You would
like
think,
Ted
given their
Lasso,
name, that they would rank other critics.
That's not a bad
Which
idea.
would give us
it's
great
an
insight.
offline,
It would give us a way to,
The
I know I rank
site that
Metacritic.
ranks critics. I like it.
So we only we talked about a few shows last week, but the only other new show we talked about last week was The Vow over on HBO, the documentary series about NXIVM, which I double-checked the tagline today, an alleged sex cult. Alleged.
Yeah, because the corporation's still operating. They swear it's just Keith, and that Keith swears he didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah. That's probably why
That's
he's
in our
in
number-
jail.
Yeah. That's our number 59 spot. So it's right there with Lucifer. It's got a 303, and Lucifer's got a 301. Oh, Lucifer's also tied with Shrill over on Hulu, Season 2.
I'd say that was
61
unfair,
spot.
except Shrill Season 2 was just not great.
Yeah, not as good as Season 1. But, so not a lot of action. Real quick, just to recap everybody on the top 5. Number 1 on our list still, The Last Dance. Tied for number 2 is Rick and Morty with Dark Side of the Ring for all you wrestling fans. Number 4 is the Mandalorian documentary, Disney Gallery, over on Disney Plus. And then number 5 is Better Call Saul, season 5 over on AMC. That's the power rankings.
All right. Thank you, Kyle. It is now time to jump over and talk about some old business, specifically Apple Plus's Ted Lasso, which is now, when we talked about it, I think we had seen 2 episodes, maybe? 3? Like, we had not seen a lot.
Yeah.
I had
like
seen
one or
literally
two.
one. And then I think after we talked about it, I realized how much more charming I found that one episode than the more it sunk in. And right after the podcast about it, I went back and watched 2 and 3, I think, before bed. And was hooked. I think that's all there was at that week.
And,
3.
and now there's 6 episodes, and as they keep going, I'm falling more and more in love with the show. It is just it's like a warm hug.
It really is.
Yeah.
So I raved about it to Lisa, and I started the conversation with, Apple TV Plus actually has 2 shows now that are must-watch, fantastic. And she goes, one's Mythic Quest. What is the other? I was like, bravo! One is Mythic Quest.
Correct.
You are correct. The other is, shockingly enough, Ted Lasso.
Yeah, it's really good.
And we sat down to watch the first
yourselves-
episode. We watched all of them up till now. Like, she was mad that, why does it show me the picture of the next one if it's not even out yet, you dicks?
That does suck. I got caught like that too. You guys singing the theme song? I feel like every time I go to the bathroom watching that show, it's in my head.
So I think part of what makes it work is that part of it is Jason Sudeikis. I've always liked Jason Sudeikis, but I've usually seen him play kind of a scumbag or a goofball or someone snarky, and this is him doing a genuine guy, and it's working. He's even more genuine and sweet than JD on Scrubs. This is a straight up likable, nice guy. The episode with his ex-wife, played by
see him hurt. So she's from Better Off Ted.
Better Off Ted, yeah.
Yeah,
and
I can't think of her name.
It's such a great grown-up relationship. It's like the two of them, they kind of want to work it out, but they can't. And him letting her go, it's such a mature thing.
It is. I looked over, at least it was like that. That may be the most mature breakup I've ever seen on television, certainly in a sitcom.
Yeah.
Also, something really nuanced, but it shows how he's not just a coach in the locker room, but when he talks to his wife, he says, "Hey, can you put the little man on the phone?" And then when she puts his son on the phone, he goes, "Hey, what's up, big man?"
Yeah.
And he addresses them differently, kind of like he approaches his players. He doesn't treat everybody the same. He has this unique approach for each guy.
Well,
I think,
even though they make fun of him for not knowing anything about, part of it's the fish out of water of him not knowing football or him not knowing soccer. But
football,
he doesn't care. Football is life. But he doesn't give a shit about what sport it is. He wants to coach. He's a coach because he wants to coach.
Yep.
And I love the subtle loyalty and psychic link that that he and Coach Beard have. He and Beard could almost look at each other and do the Teenage Bounty Hunters twin speak thing, and I would believe it.
Oh, have you guys ever seen the thing Coach Beard did where he was playing chess in his head with his date?
Put the game before the dame, didn't you?
Yeah. That was so good. Also, that's one thing. The ensemble here is good. It's not just Sudeikis, because everybody's good.
Everybody's good. Sam is even more earnest than him, for God's sake. Mm-hmm. When he goes in there to talk the boss into... But God, the boss is more complex than she needs to be.
And that's something. She could easily just be the villain from Major League. But instead, they have a developing relationship with her and Keeley, where she's giving Keeley a new job and helping her get away from Jamie. And and then Jamie, they deepened Jamie in this latest episode.
Yeah,
and he was just the foil, and they did such a great job of
It is literally the why are you making me fall in love with this character? Are you about to kill him?
Yeah,
but and then basically,
I don't know if there's any character I love more than Danny Rojas.
Oh my God! Football is life.
Danny Rojas.
Danny Rojas. Oh my God! Oh, he's like a fucking, what is he called? He's it's a golden retriever. I can't remember what he fully calls him, but he's like a Guadalajara golden retriever.
The thing is, the Danny character made it much easier for us to like Jamie because you realize Which we got a little bit of this the first time that in like season or episode 2 or 3 when we thought Ted was going to get around to Jamie where he's like, nice goal, you're the best guy I've ever coached, da-da-da.
Yeah.
And he started to turn, but now that he has Danny there, he had somebody to challenge him, or has somebody to challenge him. They do this contest where they're kicking goals up against the rim of the net, and Danny's really good.
Yep.
Roy is just taking the piss out of him like the whole time.
Yep.
Like, do you see this guy?
Well, and Danny's both really good, and it's just the joy of it. Like, it's still fun for him, and it hasn't been fun for a lot of these guys in a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah. You definitely don't get this in American football where there's like such a mixing of cultures.
Yeah.
Like in American football, it's like guy from Iowa, guy from Minnesota, guy from Tampa Bay.
Yeah, when Ted walks in, it's like, y'all are from all over the place. Wow, okay.
But also, what you do get, though, this is a sports show. Like, the team coming together and all. It is Major League, but in soccer. Like, it's a... But at the same time, it's Friday Night Lights. It's like
it's a lot sweeter than Major League.
It's about the coach. It's about what coaching actually is, and it's and like Friday Night Lights, I don't have to give a crap about the sport to enjoy it. I don't know. I know less about soccer than Ted Lasso, and I'm loving this show.
I can't believe how much I'm looking forward to the next episode. Lisa, I have not watched Last Chance U over on Netflix, but Lisa compared it to that. That's a documentary,
Okay.
but apparently it brings up similar stuff. It's about kids who have gone to like a Division I school where they were going to go pro or hoping to go pro after, and then they fucked up for whatever reason, grades or for whatever reason they got bounced, and and so these are the JUCOs and stuff that they're at to rehab themselves back into a program where they could go, where you haven't lost your whole dream, and so you have a lot of people who know that it is like, nah, I this is it, this is my last shot, I have almost fucked up my real shot. And so you've got a lot of kids that are bad attitudes and a lot of kids that really want it. And apparently a lot of the manager, coach, whatever, coach, assistant coach relationships, there's a lot of that like shorthand, in-joke, weird, loyal, like fierce loyalty kind of stuff.
You know why this show is so good for right now is because it's a time where we don't have any like famous mentors out there, like obvious role models and like leaders in the sense of like, oh, I want to be like that guy, I want to follow that guy. It's just like it's kind of it's kind of dire times, and here comes this show that is super hopeful, and you spend 2 minutes with this Ted Lasso character and you're like, oh, I wish I was on his team, or I wish he was helping me do my thing.
Yeah,
it's very Mr. Rogers-y.
Yeah,
I'll be honest.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that that makes it sound like this is a saccharine bullshit show. We've seen Ted be really hurt.
Yeah.
With where he's having a hard time with the wife. I mean, he makes a great move.
Yeah.
But that breakup is still a breakup, and it's terrible. And then we've seen him be genuinely fucking angry.
Oh, at the end of this latest one,
in a believable way, where I was like, nah, man, that is Ted Lasso angry.
Yeah. Yeah, the bit where he comes in and he's talking. I don't know what he's talking about, but it's Coach Beard and the other guy they've elevated up to coach.
Nate.
And Nate. And Nate leans over and he's like, is he okay? He's like, no, man, he's not okay.
No. Yeah.
No.
I love that Nate can't keep his shit together on like when Jamie gets benched. Like, no, this is a Schadenfreude free zone. 9 Schadenfreude. But he can't. He's like Nate just keeps laughing. Like it's gonna destroy his soul.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, they're slowly winning everybody over because in episode 1, just everybody hates him. Like nobody has his back. And you get like week over week, they just move the rock up the hill a little bit more. And I feel like the big, like what we're working towards the end of the season is getting the owner to kind of realize, oh no, this can be my new life. My life isn't defined in my ex-husband,
Right.
whether it's revenge.
Yeah, the best revenge is a life well lived. What if I made his
his
team better instead of destroying it?
Exactly, yeah. Like, she thinks that it's going to piss him off to see the team lose, not realizing how much it pisses him off to see the team win when he's not there.
Without him, yeah.
It's going to thrill him to watch her fail at running the team.
Yeah.
And I think at some point that's going to click, that you've got to do something for you and not against him.
Well, and it's sad because you see, like, she's been brainwashed by this guy,
Yeah.
She thinks, if I self-destruct, that'll, he'll notice me then. when it's the opposite.
And you see her have that moment about outside with Ted. Well, she gives into the hug as well, but but she talks about like he used to say wear this or do that, and I listened.
Yeah.
And like it's a hard thing to admit. Like, oh, I feel shitty for having gone along with this, and now it's habit, and I really miss it.
Yeah, this show has a lot to offer.
Mm-hmm.
And the one thing we get with her character kind of at the end of the stint we've watched is she finds out where the cookies come from.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, he owns up to it when he's pissed.
Yes.
I hope these are terrible. Oh, that's a lie.
They're not.
I finally cracked the recipe. That's the best batch yet. Oh, man. I was one over on the show, and I think episode 2, he reveals that it's one of the first times she realizes that Higgins is warming up to him, her assistant, despite her hating him still.
Yes.
And he's like, yeah, Higgins and I are having salads later for lunch. And Higgins is like, I guess I'll Caesar you later. And Ted's already out the door, right? And like, he turns around and bursts back into the room like 110% energy and is like, yes! Like, I was so on board with the show of like, oh my God, that's exactly my reaction. Like, because it's not just that he loves a good dad joke. It's a chink in the armor. Like Higgins is meeting you halfway with the puns.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So let's just a quick reminder that you can support us by going over to patreon.com/tvdudes. Throw us a buck an episode. In exchange, we get to keep up with our streaming services like Apple Plus, which apparently we have to keep now, damn it. And pay for our hosting costs. And you get bonus content each week. This week, we're going to talk about Septober, that magical 2 months of Halloween where you watch all the scary movies you've been saving up all year, or maybe revisit some old favorites. We're going to talk about some stuff on our docket. And we also have our $20 showrunner level, which lets you add 2 shows into our rotation. We've got Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. on deck from AJ as soon as that drops on Netflix. And also, Jean-Paul has joined us as a $20 showrunner. He has not given us our shows just yet, but thank you and welcome to the showrunner level.
Thank you, sir.
Hell
yeah.
All right, it is time for new business, guys. And this week's new business is also slightly old business, because it is a show that we've actually talked about before, and that is Cobra Kai, which at the time was a YouTube Red show, and now is a Netflix show, and suddenly everyone knows what it is. So
funny how that works. Yeah, you put it on the thing that everybody has on their TV.
I watched season 1 and was, after being very skeptical of the show, I loved it, and then I watched episode 1 of season 2, but I didn't want to pay for another YouTube, so I never got around to it. So
I didn't see any of season 2 on YouTube. I just saw season 1 and was stunned.
And Kyle, you had not seen any of it, right?
Yeah, this is one of those shows that everybody said it was so good. I was like, oh yeah, I can just wait until I don't have any good TV left. And then you get around to season 2 and you're like, no, I got to get on this train before it leaves the station.
It's not done like High Fidelity, but a bit like High Fidelity. They knocked it out of the park on adapting, updating, changing, referencing back to an older property in a way that isn't entirely kitsch and nostalgia. It really offers something new and is just, I don't know, better done than this could have been a cash grab. And I think
there's no way it should be this good. There's no way.
Ralph Macchio's talked about the number of times in his life that he's been offered some kind of revisit Karate Kid, but they're always shit stories and cash grabs.
Yeah.
And this similar to the story of the new Bill and Ted, like this was the like, nope, that idea is cool. Okay.
Well, and the allure for him is you go to him and you say, no, in this one, you get to kind of be the bad guy. Because the bad guy always has way more fun than the hero. Mm-hmm. But this is a show that doesn't really have any heroes.
So of all of the things that did not age well on How I Met Your Mother, one of their best moments is the running gag that Neil Patrick Harris's character, every time anybody brings up the movie The Karate Kid, and he's like, yes, William Zabka, Johnny Lawrence, the Karate Kid, the kid in the movie that knows karate. Like, what are you talking about? There is a
Yeah.
Karate Kid in that movie, and then there's this punk that moves in from out of town and steals this girl over a summer while they're on a break. And it's almost exactly like the complaints, like as you're watching season 1 and going, oh yeah, no, Johnny was a jerk, and he was being taught to be a jerk by an absence of a father figure and this jackass Kreese. But also, fuck you, man. Why the fuck you moved to Reseda? And my girlfriend and I are having a minute here. Would you just chill?
Yeah. They do a good job of. I think they don't sell out Daniel because they do have him. He's a bit of a douche. Like he's a rich guy. He has a car dealership, but in his heart, he is a good guy. Like he wants to be a good person. He's a good dad.
It's the same problem. I love that it's basically the same kind of problems that Daniel had as a kid.
Yeah.
Like, it's the same kind of arrogance and like, hey, this is going pretty well. I guess I'm pretty hip now. And like, oh, come on, Daniel.
Yeah. But at the same time, like, William Zabka he's great at playing Johnny as this, he is kind of he's an asshole. Like, he's a complete asshole. And yet at the same time, you start to see this little heart of gold peek through, and you realize
he doesn't want to be a bad person.
He doesn't want to be a bad person.
He's the guy who would, like, argue with you over politics, to be like, no, you should vote for Trump. And then when you're like, well, who are you voting for? And he's like, I don't vote.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes. Yeah. Well, and also he's like, he wants to be a badass, but he doesn't want to be an asshole. That's the whole thing. He wants to be a badass, but he they deliberately did this thing of like, the nerds come to Cobra Kai because they're being bullied, and suddenly he's helping the nerds overcome their nerddom by becoming badasses.
But he's making them bullies.
But he's making them bullies. It's a weird corrupt. It's like at one point you watch the transition from Eli to Hawk, one of their best characters, by the way.
That's just great, but terrible.
And you're like,
but he goes like full Heath Ledger villain in this.
You're like, I'm glad he got his confidence, but now he's kind of a dick. And then
you feel sorry for him, you feel good for him, and then you feel bad when you see his decline. And then when he becomes villain, like, I'm already bought in. All right, screw him. You're a bad guy.
At the party when when Dimitri almost wins him over on like, know Moffat's not show running Doctor Who anymore, and Hawk's like, what?
Yeah.
But then he remembers, I got a posture again.
Yeah, that's not me.
The deconstruction, I love that they spend season 2 deconstructing the Cobra Kai mantra or the Cobra Kai slogan or whatever. But because like you watch Johnny learn that no mercy, what he already knows, no mercy is a bullshit way to live your life as an adult. And when they have the one-off road trip episode where all his adult friends are like, what the fuck, man? You're still running Cobra Kai? Yeah. That shit is terrible.
Yeah.
We were assholes. We were terrible assholes.
Yeah.
And then Johnny gets back in it and tells the kids, like, hey, man, mercy without honor makes you an asshole.
Yeah.
Can I talk about the road trip episode?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Fucking bar fight.
I didn't realize this till I like went back and read the reviews and stuff, but so the kind of the synopsis, episode later in the season, we get reunited with his gang from
it's
the Karate
his
Kid
gang.
Movie. Yeah, it's the 3 guys from the movie.
Yeah.
And they're all meeting up because one of them is terminally ill, and they're going to take him on a biker road trip for like one last wild night. And then it ends Roadhouse style where they kick the shit out of Swayze and some other guys. And unfortunately, I have to spoil this episode to point out kind of the thing they did, which is a really dark joke. But the guy who was terminally ill, he was the kid who had the famous line, "Put him in a body bag."
Oh, man.
Do you remember that?
No, I didn't know that was who it was.
And how does that episode end?
With him in a body bag, yeah.
They straight up do the zipping up this from the center, like the most cliche body bag shot ever. And it's like, I didn't catch it in the moment because the episode is so sincere, and you really see these guys bond, and they're pretty much telling him the same thing we already know, which is that Cobra Kai really screwed us up. We could have been something, and it set us back.
And you can't trust Kreese. He's pulling something.
You know what my favorite thing about this show is that none of the characters are ever like one thing. They're not one-dimensional. Like, everybody gets like the kids making the transition from Cobra Kai to Miyagi-Do, and them not trusting them. But then there's like this question of, can anyone be redeemed? They even do an episode where it looks like they might be doing a redemption arc with Kreese.
Yes,
that was insane.
That was a big turn.
When they find him where he's living, and Johnny finds him, and
it's like finding out you have a racist granduncle, and you're like, oh, I don't want to see that guy, and then you're like, nobody's seen him in 15 years, and it's like, dang.
Yeah, we better at least take care of him. And I love that Miguel sees right through his bullshit too.
Oh, immediately, like, man, you just got your country wrong.
Yeah.
Where were you? Oh, when you're in the sandbox as much as me, it all bleeds to like.
Yeah.
You're full of shit.
By the way, the guy playing Kreese, so good at that, playing the skeevy bad guy.
And he slipped right. Like the thing with Johnny and LaRusso is they got to play new versions of their characters, like the adult versions of their characters.
Yeah.
This guy slipped right back into Kreese.
Oh, he's the same guy. Yeah.
Like a day hasn't passed.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
I also love they did this in season 1. I thought they did even better in season 2 when Johnny and LaRusso actually get together and realize they have a fair amount in common. Like they're both karate kids in the 80s. Like they like a lot of the same stuff, and so the double date here where they wind up a double date together and they kind of bond.
Yeah.
And then of course something tears them apart because it has to because that's the show. But I bought it.
Tell you.
But they could end up as friends if they just would fucking take some therapy and quit bowing up and posturing.
Yep, absolutely.
I'm so glad you guys mentioned the double date episode because there is a secret to this show working, and I feel like the perfect example is in the double date episode, which is you watch Laverne and Shirley, any TV show, they do things like this, where it's like the miscommunication. Oh no, now we're stuck in the same place together.
Right.
So this setup is they're gonna go on a dinner date, and all the tables are booked up. The actress Courtney Henglinger, she plays, is it Amanda, LaRusso's wife?
She's great, by the way. His wife is great.
Uh-huh. And she does this in this episode and a ton of other ones. But essentially what it is there's a rule in writing, if you call out the cliche, you can do it.
Yeah.
So what does she do? She comes in, what's his name's mom? Miguel's mom.
Yeah, Miguel's mom.
Yeah, it's like, what's going on? And she goes, they got rival karate dojos. It's and she just cuts all the tension, and it's like, all right, we're on board. We can have our fun.
We're not going to show the tables. Oh yeah, this is. She says 2 or 3 times, like, oh, so this is happening. Nope, this is happening. Okay, all right.
Yeah. But no, she is always the one who calls out the cliche, and also, I think there's times where they heavy-hand her exposition she has to deliver, but it never feels like you're getting too much. Like she's really slick with like getting all the words out.
That episode also sets up a lovely parallel between her and Diaz's mom. Does the same or has the potential. They really dangle. Yeah, Miguel. They really dangle that she has the potential to do the same thing for Johnny.
Yeah,
because she recognizes it immediately too. Of like, this isn't going to wreck our day. Okay, so we're doing this. Hi, lady. You see nights. I love your earrings.
Also,
our men are stupid.
One of the tricks about both those characters, but especially Amanda, is that she has to supersede Allie. Because Allie is such a feature in the... Like, I understand that she was only in one of the Karate Kid movies, but that was the whole point, but they were fighting over Allie. And they both are crazy about her. And they have to... This one where you're like, oh, well, that's what we wound up with. He did all right. He traded up. Like, that's like, she's great. And I think her ability to sort of cut through all his like, oh, you're going to do karate again. Okay, great. Well, we have a business running a car dealership, right? Like I love that she is like, she respects it. She doesn't undercut to the point where you're just like, where you hate her. She doesn't go like full Skylar in Breaking Bad or anything. But at the same, but Skylar was right in Breaking Bad, but she got a bad rap with the fans. But they also like they don't have her like look at it and go. She doesn't get into the karate wars and stuff. She's just like, this is ridiculous. This is your dumb side thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she. So I feel like we should talk about both the ending and the ending overall episode.
Yeah.
And then also the kind of tease into season 3. That they drop.
Right.
So this is like the for sure spoilers territory.
Yeah.
Yes, for sure.
So folks, we're going to get into the last ending of the show here, and then what's going to really bring into season 3. If you want to take a break, now would be the time.
Right.
So earlier in the season, I love the bar moment that how they set it all up, where Johnny's trying to date on the app, and he's talking about like, why can't you just bump into somebody not too hard at the bar, apologize, offer to buy him a drink, and that's how it works. And Miguel's like, the fuck? And then a woman does it to Johnny at the bar. Like exactly pulls his move on him, which is hysterical. But it is brilliantly done because he's written this message on the Facebook to Allie. And it is the total like, should I reconnect with this person late night? Social media trolling of some or stalking of somebody, and you're not sure if he's going to send it, and he gets bumped and his thumb sends it.
Yep.
and then like the show goes on, but it ends. It allows them to at the end of the season when he gets mad and throws his keys in his car and walks away, throws his phone off into the beach and shit. We get to end on the shot of Allie accepting his friend request.
And here's the thing: Elizabeth Shue got killed off on The Boys season 1, so she's free and she'll do TV. I'm just
I
saying.
hope they're bringing her back.
It's much easier to go, hey, we're on Netflix, than to be like, hey, we're on YouTube.
We're on YouTube Red.
Yeah.
And here's my presentation on what YouTube Red is.
Also, I think it was a season 2 edition, but Paul Walter Hauser, the guy from I, Tonya and Richard Jewell.
Yes.
Oh, is that Stingray? Stingray.
Yes.
Great.
Yes.
Oh man, and he's so great in I, Tonya. He steals that.
Yep.
No, that was really where I first saw him. But this guy is so funny, and he's essentially playing the adult who's way too old for this, but is still hanging out with all these high school kids.
When he goes to the high school party
with Edward 40 hands, and he can't get out of the fucking door as the cops are getting. He's the only one who's going to get arrested in this house. He can't get out.
But also Team Black.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
I did not
think
see
he was
nuts.
Team Red.
Team Red was a Team Red. I did not see that coming.
He brings it up in his job interview later.
Well, and what was great about that is he pulls the joke at the beginning of that episode. I'm flipping the script. I'm Stingray.
Yeah.
He's like, whatever, Chubbs.
Yep.
But because he won that competition, he got to keep the
he
nickname.
gets to be Stingray. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then, of course, we have the final battle, the fucking high school Thunderdome that they go off on.
Man, so this leads me to one thing, which is that we haven't talked too much about, which is the fight choreography on this is insanely good.
So good. Oh.
Like the first fight that Johnny has against the guys out in the parking lot in season 1 is really good. All the karate is really, really good. But
Daniel kicking the shit out of those kids at the
beach,
whatever country club is great. Like all of it's just brilliant. Hawk, I mean the whole Woods fight, all the kids. But then the high school fight is
the next level.
One of the nicest.
It's like
large,
the Daredevil hallway fight.
It really is. It really is. I can't stress enough how. Of course, I'm watching it the whole time, enjoying the shit out of it, and thinking, well, Reseda can simply not be allowed to have karate dojos ever again. They're going to enact local legislation
the flash dance
and talk about the dojo wars of 2020. Because remember that time when we opened 2 dojos? You can have 1 dojo. If you open a second dojo, then we kill, a handful of high school kids and destroy, the fucking halls.
Oh, yeah. It did kind of turn into, Hunger Games / Battle Royale.
It's insane. Yeah.
Well, and also,
when the teachers walk up and are like, nope.
as I watch it, and you can see what's coming. I was waiting for a, Hilary Swank movie, the... $1 Million Baby. I was waiting for the $1 Million Baby moment because they kept showing these heights and these stairs, and I'm like, someone's going over. Someone's gonna get really seriously hurt.
Someone's gonna break their back. Yeah.
And the way they did it was brutal because you come to care about that character and the way
and it's a growth moment for him and it's a shitty moment for the other kid.
And I didn't want that for Robbie.
Didn't mean it to go that, and Robbie didn't mean it to go that far.
It's almost worse for Robbie out of anybody in that situation.
But by the way, that's one of the other bits of genius of this show is, and it could have been cliche, but they managed to make it work. That Johnny's estranged son begins training with Daniel, and then Daniel's daughter is gets involved with Johnny's son. And then there's this other kid, so it's a romantic triangle, and then the mom of the kid that Johnny is mentoring gets involved. There's all these interesting relationship angles that could read like telenovela, but instead is just really well done and adult.
Folks can go back and check out the interview we did with Mary Mauser, who plays Samantha LaRusso. Right after season 1, which. Season 2 really brings Samantha more in. I mean, she's not...
Oh, for sure.
She's basically steadfastly refusing to get involved with her dad's karate shit. Even though she has trained in the past, it's their weird moment in teen high school years. And so her character in season 1 is very much more like a promise of what she'll get to do in season 2. But it was fun to talk to her about, obviously, having a way different history with this. I mean, I saw Karate Kid, the first movie, when it came out in the theater, and it changed my childhood.
I saw it on a date, so
With a hot
awesome.
babe, Randy.
No, she did not.
first.
She did not have an ex boyfriend who did karate, as far as I know.
There's no dude in a skeleton onesie out in the parking lot waiting to kick your ass.
To be fair, I don't remember who the girl was. I just remember I saw it on a date.
Nice.
Karate Kid outweighed the date there.
Yes, yeah.
One of my
I remember
favorite
Karate Kid.
I was going to say that Samantha LaRusso moments were the koi pond training on the circular pad
That was
has
super
to have
fun.
the perfect balance.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which you could, after a while, you could see the motor that was balancing it for them. Because they did a couple takes where like they were definitely like falling off the thing. But yeah, it's this really cool thing where they have to dance around this circular pad, and if they go out of sync, it'll flop and they'll fall into this whole koi pond.
And then it gets paid off. It gets paid off when they have to do the big group fight.
At the food court, yeah, it's fucking great.
Yeah, because the whole thing is 1 versus 20 or 2 versus 20.
Yep. Also,
Before we... go ahead.
I have not seen Karate Kid 3 or the next Karate Kid with Hilary Swank. Speaking of Hilary Swank. So I was surprised when they got to the big reveal. Daniel's like, I was Cobra Kai and I came back. And I'm like, wait, when did that happen? But I guess that was Karate Kid 3.
Actually, what I think happened, I read some articles on that afterwards.
Okay.
What I believe he was saying, I know they can change because I was Cobra Kai. I think what he was saying is, like, I was like Cobra Kai, even though he didn't say that.
Okay.
Because in Karate Kid 3, I think what happens is he trains with another guy. Because Cobra Kai is gone after the first film. But he trains, Mr. Miyagi doesn't want him to do competitions or whatever. So he trains with somebody else who makes him a badass. And then he gets hurt or something. It's been a while, so I don't remember it.
Okay, so that makes but it is Karate Kid 3 that he's referencing there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, and they even show clips. Like, one of the big strengths of this show is they use this archive footage brilliantly from all the different Karate Kid movies.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Really tastefully, all the best spots. And when you go to like click on it on Netflix, the first clip is the end fight from Karate Kid 1.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And it totally gets you like, wait, what is this? You know, I know that.
Well, that's what we're going to say.
I couldn't remember if I mean, as far as like I was Cobra Kai, I couldn't remember if before he met Mr. Miyagi, if he had tried to go to. I couldn't remember the first movie well enough to remember if maybe he had tried to go once and gotten.
He tried to go once and then saw Johnny there and walked away. So he was never really in Cobra Kai.
So that was never. Yeah, that is.
Yeah.
Oh, what I was going to say is before we. Is there anything else y'all were wanting to touch on the show? It's fantastic.
I think that covers it. It's great. Yeah, it's great.
I was going to say.
I think the big reveal at the end, though, which really makes me think about season 2, is like what happens now that Johnny has lost Cobra Kai to Kreese.
Oh yeah,
yes, and Miguel's mom won't talk to him.
Yeah,
yep.
Like, I'd be surprised if some. I mean, I'm surprised. Amanda LaRusso may be more mad at Daniel than we. I mean, like, who knows?
Yeah.
She definitely laid down the like, no karate, we're done, no karate.
Yeah.
And so I worry that when Allie shows up.
Say it, Randy. I know what you're thinking.
What if Johnny and Daniel have to create a shadow dojo together and teach these kids karate for their own good?
Oh, I already came out of the end of this going, so how long until we have Miyagi Kai?
Miyagi Kai.
Miyagi Kai, nice.
Because it's about balance, y'all.
Both sides.
So what I was going to say is if everybody, when you're done binging through these 2 seasons and you're promised season 3, but you don't have it yet, and you just watched like 50 kids wreck a high school with Taekwondo, I feel safe doing this because the movie series has already conflated these two. There's a book by a guy named Ryan Gaddis, who generally writes, I think, more serious stuff, but he wrote a fantastic novel called Kung Fu High School that is basically a set of straight up Japanese movie or Chinese like feudal gangs run this high school, and people make nobody goes to school without like cardboard armor made under their clothes and shit and like because you will get fucked up, and it is to a point that every adult has just given up on trying to manage this. Like the whole community is just looking away from this high school, and it's nuts. Like there requires some suspension of disbelief because it's anime style. Like it's just bug shit.
I was just say, Les, is this a novel or an anime? Are you watching another anime now?
Right?
Yeah.
I don't know how this is not a movie
with
yet.
half of a scissor sword running around in like barely no clothing, starting fights with everybody.
Like there's a girl that's like she's a freshman in like low level new student. She's low in her gang and everything, and then her cousin, who is like used to compete in tournaments, badass, but won't compete anymore. But he's like the best martial artist anybody's ever met in real life. He moves back and moves in with her, and it's very much the story of like, I no longer fight. To like, I have to protect my family, and then he just destroys these gangs. But it is a wild book. It's called Kung Fu High School by Ryan Gaddis. Everybody's stuck at home. If your TV power goes out or something, I don't know why people read. But if you want to read a book, it's fucking awesome, and it does an insane job of like describing specifically like the moves and shit that they're doing. Like there are like pages of like how to make your neck guard out of homemade stuff so that you don't get knifed in the side of the throat.
Oh, Jesus.
Wow.
It's nuts.
Hey, real quick, did you guys watch under the Netflix like other stuff? There was a Cobra Kai season 1 and 2 trailer combined.
I did not watch that.
No.
Okay, you're probably going to want to go back and watch it because what they do is they add a tiny clip at the end that I am pretty sure was not in anything. But what it is it's Danny LaRusso. He's been knocked down to the floor of his dojo, or a dojo, and then we see the what did Raphael have in the Ninja Turtles? The
Sai.
Sai. Yeah, you see one of those slam into the ground right next to his head, and there's a voiceover of him going, "There's things that I didn't know about Mr. Miyagi's past," and then it's a season 3 coming 2021 to Netflix.
Yeah. Awesome.
Little tease.
Looking forward to it.
It wasn't in the show, but they definitely threw that in the trailer.
He's going to fight the hand.
We
never really solved that hole in the building, so...
Well, you know what it is? It is on Netflix now, so maybe it's going to be a Daredevil crossover?
Right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of times in the comics where somebody else has to fill in for Daredevil, and I can see Daniel LaRusso, having to get the costume fitted and stuff.
Yeah.
Be good.
Let's change networks and change shows, and let's talk about The Boys season 2. There's been 3 episodes so far of I think they're only doing 8. It's a short season. In fact, season 1 was 8 episodes as well. So this was the first season of this was better than it had any right to be, and I think partly they took the comic is at best you could say adolescent. It is not Garth Ennis' best work. It is not Derek Robertson's best work, and the idea of it is just kind of gross. I think it's like, hey, what if superheroes sucked and there were these British guys who killed them? It's basically there's no sophistication. And Prime and Eric Kripke from Supernatural came in and gave it a lot more nuance and gave us these really memorable characters. And while the heroes are just cartoonishly terrible, they're also characters. Like I think the lead in this, Homelander, their Superman, is psychotic and scary and yet human enough that you kind of like, oh, I get where this guy's coming from. He's evil, but he's interesting.
He's a broken child raised in a Skinner box, basically. No human touch lab rat.
He's also great fan casting for Reverse Flash.
Yeah, for sure. So the boys are fugitives now because the Butcher has been framed for the murder of their CIA contact. And
I love them flinching every time you see somebody fly overhead.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because they're hilariously outgunned guerrilla soldiers, right? Like they're in a war against people who can stomp them, and they don't have the resources, they don't have the powers. Like all they've got is the willingness to do something. But
I think for the first episode, we've just got Mother's Milk and Frenchie and
Huey, all
just kind of hiding out.
Dennis Quaid's son. Dennis Quaid and Meg Ryan's son.
Yeah.
That's right. That's Jack Quaid. And so when we finally get Butcher back, we find out that he's basically made a deal for the cliffhanger ending of season 1. He has a child. Mm-hmm. And I wondered how they were going to handle that. They basically handle it by him waking up outside of what shithole restaurant?
Like
Oh,
a
man.
P.F. Chang's or
It's
Yeah,
like a
something,
shittier
yeah.
one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like a
Something
it's like
Tarantino's,
a
like
Red
a
Robin or
JD
something like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
Tarantino.
And he it's some Italian restaurant or anyway,
Yeah.
chain. Some chain restaurant, and he doesn't know. He writes down as much as he can remember description wise about the house, but it's a vague suburban ranch style home. Like it doesn't fit anything. And so when he shows back up, like he's working all his contacts because he wants to find his kid again, or find his wife again.
Yeah.
It's not it's Homelander's kid,
right.
but he wants to find his wife again.
Yeah,
And meanwhile, we get great shit with Homelander being the world's worst parent influence. Like he's clearly like he's a psycho holding them hostage. Like it's
home invasion. It's a Twilight Zone. It's a Twilight Zone episode. Like she can't piss him
Yeah.
off, but he's just
it's exactly that. It's exactly that Twilight Zone.
yeah. He is just human enough that he won't kill the mom in front of the kid, and he still thinks we can be this great family. And she's like, I just need you to get out of my life. Like, what the fuck?
Right.
And I started to think, is it possible this is Butcher's kid and he doesn't have any powers?
And they gave him Compound V.
Oh no, I was thinking his Butcher's kid didn't have any powers, and that she was trying to hide this, and that's what she's like. The only way we all stay alive is if I tell Homelander it's his kid.
And then Vought will then hide us.
Yeah, that's what I thought was going on. Was like,
But no.
because obviously she made the deal with him. She's like, okay, look, I will have your kid and I will live here, but you can't kill my husband. That's the only reason Butcher is still alive.
Wow.
But then we get that bit, and I'm like, oh, the kid does have powers.
Nope,
Okay, so
Little Brightburn
Yeah.
here is definitely powered.
Well, and it actually makes what Homelander did less child abuse-ish because the kid's indestructible. So it's like you're not knocking a normal kid off a roof. Like that kid's going to be fine, even though he knocked the kid off a roof.
It's more the shitty parenting of like knocking your kid into the pool.
Yeah. But that's the thing when he
Which
did
is still
it,
a shit thing to
when,
do.
When he did it and she came running out, that's when I was at my most like, oh well, that kid doesn't have any powers. And
I had a moment of like,
and she can't.
The show opened with exploding a dude.
Yeah.
So like, did Homeland? I mean, it would not have been completely out of the realm of possibility for the show to have just killed that kid right then.
It's true. Yes. Yeah.
Like, is this the moment where Homelander's like,
yeah,
all right then.
Leaves,
well, it was good seeing you.
That stuff
Should I
is all
tell Butcher
interesting.
where you live?
And at the same time, they're giving us some more insight into Vought. There's the reveal that like, no, Vought is not a superhero company. Vought is a pharmaceutical company.
And they've got a boss above them.
They're like you are fucking with the money. Don't fuck with the money. I love
and they're
that.
basically started by the Nazi scientists. Like all of this was originally done in camps.
Yep. And it's interesting you mentioned Nazis. Because one of the characters who shows up, the new member of the Seven, well, they introduce us to one who's like their Daredevil, and he's blind, but he's got all these abilities. And Homelander is really just genial, and he's like, "What happens if I do this?"
Boxes his ears at super speed,
and he's like, "Now you're just a blind guy, right?" Like that was awful.
Just bleeding out his face on the floor. Yeah. Oh my god, it's fucking awful. Yeah, that's when he just scares the living shit out of like the woman he's basically browbeat into taking.
He terrorizes everyone.
Elizabeth Shue.
He terrorizes everyone because he's got power and no one can tell him no until you run to the few people who can, like Giancarlo Esposito, who's like basically he treats him like the kid that he is. He's like, look, I don't know what you think you're doing here, but even if you kill me, you don't get the company. Like he's.
I kept waiting for some reveal that he had a button that would neutralize Homelander, but it just kind of got better and better that it doesn't really seem like he does. He's just like a child.
John Carlos Esposito has a button that just gives him jobs whenever he wants it.
Yeah.
New show coming out. I'll be on that. I'll be on that. I'll be on that.
The other person who stands up to him is the new member of Seven, who they bring in regardless of what he wants or not, and that is Aya Cash from You're the Worst, playing Stormfront, the
Portland
new
hipster.
Now they gender flipped this from the comics.
Yes. And they also.
But I love that her name is a double play on both her weather powers and.
Well, that's the thing. She comes in. She has weather powers, and if you're not, I guess, somewhat plugged in, you might not know that Stormfront is a famous white supremacist Nazi site.
Yeah.
But as you watch this, you start to say, "Wait a minute, are they going there?" And they're without a doubt going there. Especially when she kills the brother and she's like, "You yellow
God.
bastards," and it's like, "Oh,
Wow.
oh shit, she's actually a Nazi."
She is really funny. So Homelander is... You don't have to be in a room with Homelander for 10 seconds to realize that smile's fake and he's dead inside, and he doesn't give a fuck about the American way, and all of this is bullshit to him. Like, you get it off of him really quick. She's worse because when she sits down with Huey's...
Starlight,
who was having a great arc this season. She just blew the lid off some shit.
Yep.
But when she sits down with her, she has this really charming, like... Fuck this corporation. I don't give a shit. I have powers and they don't. They need me and I don't really need this.
Yeah.
And then she tells this great story about like Pippi Longstocking, and you got to be yourself. You know, you got to stand up for yourself. And it makes her so much worse, the fascist, for this show.
Yes.
Like, because you see how this kind of, I mean, it's not the same as Cobra Kai, but you see how empowerment turns to bully. Like, you see how badass turns to bully. You see how individuality and like I've got power and they don't means might makes right really quickly.
Yeah.
And when she realizes chasing that villains, when you realize that her policy is to kill everyone she feels like, as soon as she's chasing somebody, if I'm chasing you, Randy, I can kill everyone during the pursuit and blame you at the end.
Yeah, when she's chasing the brother, the Japanese, I think he's Japanese, I'm not sure. Kenji's his name.
Wherever the girl
she's chasing him down, and she runs across a black family, and she just straight murders them all.
Yes.
And it's like
oh no, I think she just murders the dad in front of the kids, and I think the kids are around at the end.
I got the impression after the whole window blows out. Like, I think she killed that entire family.
She blows out like a floor of that building.
Yeah,
too.
I think she killed everyone there.
Oh yeah,
I think
she definitely killed other people. Yeah.
She happens upon. She's like, oh well, I can kill this black family, and I'm a Nazi, so I'm going to do that. Like,
she just kills anybody that I wasn't sure at that moment if she was killing every single witness to it or what, but she just doesn't care. Like, it's an opportunity.
I don't think it was an accident that family was black. I think they wanted to give us a clue us in that, hey, by the way, she's a Nazi.
And she is. And we also know from Homelander, like, I don't know that he'll give a fuck if she plays the game the way he wants to play.
Right. Yeah, I'm really curious to see what's going to happen, because I think we're going to wind up rooting for Homelander, because Homelander is a monster, but at least he's not a fucking Nazi.
My hot take on season 2.
Yep.
In the first season, I feel like with any TV show, you got trees and forest. You got the episodes and the season.
Yeah.
All right. And I've seen some great seasons where, like, there's a few episodes in there that I wasn't digging, but you needed them to move the story along. And I felt like season 1, not only was it a great season, but I loved the individual episodes. Like, not being familiar with the comics, it was cool to see, like, how much of a scumbag each one of these superheroes were and get that story.
Yep.
My hot take on this season, I feel like we're going to get a great season by the end of it, but these episodes just haven't really captured my attention.
Oh, really? I was super into this. I actually like this better than season 1 so far. I was very much into this, and I loved the Deep's arc where he's getting into.
I was about to say, I've really enjoyed these, particularly the Deep.
His super Scientology and Patton Oswalt at the gills talking to him.
Oh, God, I thought that was Oswald, yes. Yeah, when his gills start talking to him. Oh, my God.
When the arrow guy is like, I showed up to a building and, well, what happened? He goes, I ran out of arrows. Like, maybe it wasn't a good idea to go up against a bunch of AKs with some arrows.
I love the weird Zen arrow dude. He's great.
Yep.
Yeah.
I ran out
of the
arrows.
Deep's apps, like, prior to them tripping him on Mushroom Tea, his complete, like, when the Scientologist, it's not what they call it, but when the lady that's doing his reading or whatever stands up and is like, no, I literally, I don't think there's a path for him at all. Like, there is no connection. He's not making it work. Like, I couldn't imagine like an Amway salesman standing up and like, you know what? You suck too much to be my downline.
Yeah.
Like somebody in the Vow going, you know what? Maybe Nexium's not right for you.
Can I have that scarf back, please?
Here's your check back. Get out.
I am really loving season 2 so far. In fact, like I'm definitely more on board than I was season 1, and I like season 1, but I think that they're deepening the characters, and I like the new characters they're using. And Aya Cash is always great. I mean, she's playing a Nazi, and I still find her kind of likable, and there's something wrong there.
she's bringing that Gretchen energy to it. It's what makes her
Yeah.
dangerous,
Yeah.
and I think it's going to let them hopefully do something interesting story-wise with her character. I love bringing A-Train back.
Yeah.
With him constantly on the verge of a fucking heart attack.
Yep.
I don't know. I'm looking for. Kyle, you might be right. The season 1 individual episodes, I think each one was just blowing my mind each time. I didn't know what to expect, and this time I came in with a little bit of expectation.
Yeah.
But I'm glad they dropped 3.
Yeah, me too.
I wish we were gonna have 3 more. I thought I saw something online that it was being dragged for not dropping a full binge season.
I think it's true. And Eric Kripke, the showrunner, said that it was his fault. He's like, look, I didn't want people to binge the whole thing and then move on. He's like, I would like to be in the conversation a little while longer, and I get that. But I'm a binge guy. Put it on. Let me watch it all. I want the binge.
Yeah, at least give me 3 at a time.
Yeah.
The oh my god, one of my favorite moments is episode 1 of season 2, the memorial for the Vanisher.
Yes.
Where it's just like pun
Translucent.
after translucent,
Yeah.
It's just like pun after pun, and there's like a see-through casket, but he's invisible, so you can't see anything.
Well, he's not
Well,
in it because
they've made a
blew him
fake.
up.
They made a fake divot in a cushion, body shaped divot,
Yeah.
so it looks so that everybody there thinks that there's an invisible dude, and they're doing bullshit about him, like this invisible baby, and
Yeah. And then it ends with Black Noir like sitting in the hallway, like not crying because he has a mask on, but it looks like he's crying, like thinking of Vanisher.
oh no,
Or-
that's Noir in the hallway crying isn't.
That's real, yeah.
Translucent
Noir's crying,
Noir crying in the hallways when they reveal that they did this to them as babies.
Yeah.
that it's not.
Oh.
And we don't know what he looks like under that mask.
We have
see him
no
get,
idea, yeah.
burn. We see him get hit hard enough with power at one point that it cracks his armor off, and it looks like he is their Deadpool almost. Like it looks like he is completely fucked underneath that mask.
Yeah.
And so I figured that was him crying in the hallway, realizing, oh, this wasn't a twist of fate that I had powers.
My parents did it to me.
Kind of like the Deep realizing, oh, it's not a twist of fate. I have these weird gills. Y'all did this to me.
Yeah.
Damn.
And yeah, so I kind of liked Black Noir. Like, I didn't want to be your fucking psycho Batman.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm looking forward to more of this. I thought this was.
Oh yeah, I'm
this
gonna
was a
keep
really good
watching,
return.
even if I wasn't like crazy about the first couple.
Our final show of the week is the one that is definitely not binging because they're dropping one per week, and I kind of enjoy that because these are like little mini movies every week, and it's a completely different take on the genre, and that is Lovecraft Country on HBO. It's episode 4, which decides to go the Indiana Jones route.
Yeah.
Straight up Last Crusade, man.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Right before they got to that scene, which we see in the trailer, but right before we got to that, I was like, man, this is just feeling very Indiana, and then I couldn't even get it out, and now they're
Yep.
like, we gotta walk across this beam.
Yeah,
Gotta make a leap of faith.
I love how it opens. It opens with them like they're it's like a road trip, and then they have several uninvited guests because they can't say, "Hey, we're going to this library to look into this crazy cult called the Sons of Adam." They're like, "Yeah, we're going on a road trip," and then Hippolyta and the daughter are like, "Yeah, we're going with you." And the dude,
More
who's
people just keep piling in.
I don't remember where Tree comes from. Is he's like a neighborhood guy? I know
Yeah.
he's like, "Yeah, I want to come
Like,
along."
you can
and
drop me halfway to my trip. It saves me bus fare.
Yes, and that was so good because then you get this like comedy element and character element in amidst the the horror and that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And considering that Letty's only involved and resurrected now because of a similar thing, she just shouldn't have been on the fucking road trip with them.
Yeah.
I kind of had the same feeling of like, oh my god, are you about to drag like 5 more people into this?
Yeah. Well, and then
they don't really. They ditch them out, but
back home, the white supremacist warlocks are getting into some mischief. Whether it's the dude who's like the servant who's corrupting her sister.
That was
And
fun
then-
to watch.
I'm wondering what he wants out of this deal.
And then I can never remember the name of the woman who's the other warlock, the
Is it Charlotte or no?
something like that. But
think it's Charlotte.
her thing facing off with the police chief, where she's like, hey, you're not in the cult, and he's like, you're not in the cult either. You're a woman. But she still kind of outranks him by blood, and I loved all that stuff.
Well, in the revelation that we know from Montrose saying it that there's 38 other, or whatever, how many he says, other lodges, and so, one of them is is run by that police or partly run by that police chief.
Yeah. Mhm.
Like, why is your lodge going after us? I loved the revelation that got him getting drunk and reading the book.
Yeah.
and then burning it. But I also love that he read and memorized the book because they're a family of book obsessive readers, drunk or not.
Yeah.
And I really loved that little touch.
It was also cool from the last week's episode where we got to see she was like a voodoo priestess type woman, but she had put some like hex on the house to get the ghosts out.
Right.
Yeah, and this protection is keeping out that blondie warlock lady. So it's cool to see like, oh no, they have magic that can actually to defend themselves with.
Well, and also that was cool to me because, like we said, every episode is a different show, different genre completely. But there are these tied elements. There is going to be this season arc. We do have the Sons of Adam thing and these missing, like, it is stacking up.
Yeah.
Even in little ways where, like, oh yeah, there was a one-off haunted house ghost episode last time, but something that you had to do for that in the next episode keeps out this evil
Christina. That's right. Christina,
keeps out Christina.
Yeah. That was
And so, like, I love seeing these things pass, even things that I don't think are going to connect. Of like, oh yeah, you remember the Indiana Jones episode? Oh yeah, that was a one-off. Like, well, actually, three things moved forward.
It's going to pay off. Well, here's one
Yeah.
thing. By the way, I know that from listening to the Lovecraft Country radio podcast, I know that one of the writers is a huge fan of Buffy, and that moment where Christina can't come in the house is very similar to a season 2 episode where Angel is basically rebuffed out of the Buffy house by Willow putting a spell on it. And I have to think that might have been a nod of just like and a sort of
That's
realization
great.
of, oh wait, I have some power. Like, you can't just come in my house.
Hey, is Atticus going part McConaughey? Because it seems like every episode he's like, wait guys, I need to take my shirt off and reveal my arms. So like, we're getting one of those in every episode.
I thought
I just watched Babysitter 2, and Robbie Amell is in it, and his character is the whole shtick is still for 2 straight movies. Why don't you have your fucking shirt on?
So I thought that the stuff they did in the underwater sequence and the plank and all that stuff was great and tense in the way that the show is so good at being great and tense. Like, I was like, oh shit, someone's going to fall. Like, they did a great job of giving me the sense of vertigo of them being way up and putting that, like, when the beam starts going and they've got to jump and there's a thing slashing across. Like, it is straight up Indiana Jones traps, and it looks dangerous as hell.
The elevator, the underwater stuff, that was great. So I cold did not expect the effect of them getting near One-Eyed Willie to take the scroll
and her coming back,
the corpse like coming back to life, and then it takes her a minute, but like healing back to a person. I
think I jumped and maybe exclaimed when that happened. I was like, holy shit. What was, and then the two spirit thing is really interesting.
Yep. And they had also hinted they've been hinting the entire episode that Montrose is gay.
Oh yeah.
And I think somebody even says something to Tick that intimates that, like, maybe Tick's like, I'm no sissy, and like, no, I'm talking about how close Montrose and somebody else had been getting.
And that would make sense. I mean,
I feel like Montrose he can't explain where he's met the security guard that lets them in at night.
Yeah,
like, I just met him at a bar. And you trust him? Yeah, I trust him.
Yeah,
and like,
you may be right. That's interesting.
I know why you trust him.
I mean, Michael Kenneth Williams played one of the toughest gay guys ever on TV when he played Omar.
Yeah, he's played
The Wire.
And he's also played Leonard.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
who's a tough gay dude. So it is not it's not problematic, but it could. I'd be interested to see where they go with it. It's not as cut and dry as saying, like, well, you have a gay character and you have a two-spirit or trans character, so obviously the gay character's into the trans character. That's really not how trans stuff works. But
it's also definitely not how this particular relationship's going to go.
No, and I don't. While I don't feel like the show is going to say that, anytime something like this happens on a show, I always have a like kind of gut tense moment of like,
don't fuck this up.
You're not actually going to have the opportunity to show like 5 of these relationships, so you're really only going to show one. Be careful what you show.
Yeah. Well, I think
so. I'll be interested to see how they handle. I mean, they've handled all of the other race relations and stuff just as well. I'll be interested to see where they go with the homophobia and the same time period and race relations too.
So the writer talked about one of the writer who's on the Lovecraft Country Radio talked a little bit about this.
I haven't listened to the podcast.
This final scene, and I'm not going to spoil it, but you guys know what I'm talking about. That final scene.
Oh yeah.
But she mentioned, she's like, she's like, I know that some people, because of the Montrose's act, may be able to like say this is a tropey thing. You don't do that, and maybe say the show's homophobic or transphobic. And she's like, and I realized we just kind of have to let them say that if they're going to say that. Like, we can't not go where the story's going to take us. And I'm like, I respect that. I think that I understand why they did what they did, and I think we're going to see why Montrose does that in his weird try to protect Atticus in the dumbest fucked up way possible.
Yeah, and I'm it tropey or not, it is absolutely believable to me.
Yeah.
That like she's very attractive, or they are very attractive.
Yeah.
And standing there completely naked, but also it's got to be weird for Montrose in that time, anybody in that time period, if you're not attracted to the default standard of normalcy. The 50s suck.
Yeah, but I don't even think it's about that. I think it's about him. He's like, I keep wanting to cut all the branches so that Atticus will not get deeper in with the sons of Adam. And that is all.
Yes,
and that's why he's like, I'm sorry, because it's not a personal thing. I think it is I'm trying to protect my not son.
Yeah. I didn't really catch that. Yeah. That was kind of the first hint that he may be a homosexual.
I hadn't caught it either, but now you say that makes sense.
I didn't take it as a homophobic thing. I, if anything, took it as a tragedy. I really got the vibe off of Michael Williams as an actor.
Yeah.
I felt like he was playing that scene as liking her. Like it chumped me into thinking that he was making a pass at her.
Oh, okay.
And then he slit her throat.
Yeah.
And I was blown away, because I felt like they were leading me to a tropey space of like, you're gonna have the one gay character date the one trans character. Yep. Cool.
Yeah.
And then like, nope.
Yeah. And then there's
I feel like it's a tragedy for him.
Oh, I agree. I think you're right. I think that's a level I hadn't caught on to, but I think you're right. Also, the other ending thing is Hippolyta and Diana seeing sees the book and like turns the car around, and I think they're heading back to Artem.
Yeah, I also got that.
Because she's like, she says, "Where'd you get that book? Where'd you get your father's book?" And she's like, "It was in the glove compartment." Right. And then she sees like the demon thing or whatever, and I think she's about to get them into some real trouble.
Yes, wow. And again, if they had, this is like so many fucking shows, but if they would stop protecting her with ignorance.
Yeah, if they just tell her the secret.
This is what happened to your husband. We're sorry.
TV has taught me that if weird magic shit happens, or superpower stuff, you just tell people about that shit.
Right? Just start spilling your guts.
Just tell them. It's just, yeah.
We're going to the loony bin. We're going together.
Right.
This continues to be a great show, I think. I always recommend. It's weird for me to recommend other podcasts this hard, but the Lovecraft Country Radio is like must listen post Monday show stuff. I'm really getting a lot out of it.
I'm surprised every week by what show it ends up being, and I've enjoyed every one of them so far.
Yeah, I can't wait for more.
That September 2020, our weekly TV queue would be Ted Lasso and Lovecraft Country.
And The Boys.
And The Boys. I did not see this coming.
Yeah, it's unpredictable, 2020.
Year's going great.
It's going great.
I can't.
All right, well,
I can't even say it with a straight face.
Thank you to our listeners. Thank you to our patrons. Thank you, Les. Thank you, Kyle.
Thanks, Randy.
Thank you, Randy.
We will be back next week with our 300th episode.
Wow.
And we've got something kind of special planned, hopefully. And until that time,
TV Dudes out!
The TV Dudes is an independently run podcast out of Austin, Texas. We are exclusively listener-supported. If you'd like to help us out, go to patreon.com/TVDudes.
You can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at TV Dudes. All the music for our show is done by our friend and original TV Dude, Gregory J. Amani Smith.
To find out more about us, go to thetvdudes.com. I'm Randy Lander.
I'm Les Weiler.
And I'm Kyle Scott.
Thanks for listening.